Hi, my name's Dakota Sharik. I'm a reporter with Newswatch 12 in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. I knew really early on that I wanted to be a reporter. You get to learn something new every day, meet new people every day, and especially with TV news, it's just a very fast-paced, adrenaline rush kind of business that I really enjoy. And it's interesting being part of Ojibwe and a member of the Native American Journalists Association. I have found there are times when I bring a different perspective that my other coworkers may not, think about, or even, I get to educate viewers on issues and topics they may not know about. And that's really important to bring. And for example, there's teams like the Washington NFL team, sports-wise, that have very offensive names. And while fortunately we don't have to use those names as much here, and while I would hope most stations don't use them, we have a lot of reservations in our viewing area here, and we never had a policy regarding whether or not those sports teams' names should be used. So I recently brought that up to my news director, and now we're going to have a new policy here where we do not use those sports teams' names. We'll just refer to their location or some other thing, and that's going to set a precedence for all the future employees that come here too. So even if they didn't consider that before in their reporting, they're going to now. So it's really important to have diversity in the newsroom, not just so that your viewers, all of your viewers, get representation on the issues and things important to them, but so that your fellow journalists can learn a new perspective and become more aware in the future. So it's really important to have that diversity, and I'm really glad that I'm in the field that I'm in.
Hey guys, how's it going? Colton Shone My name is Colton Shone. I am a Navajo news anchor for KOB4 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Previously to that, I was a weekend anchor and reporter in Tucson, and I was also a television reporter in Phoenix at the CBS station there. I think it's very important for Native Americans to go into journalism. We need to get that Indigenous voice out there. During my time as a professional broadcaster, I've been able to spotlight so many issues that really don't get touched upon in the mainstream media when it comes to Native American issues. Most recently, I've been doing some investigative work on the crisis that Indian country is facing when it comes to missing and murdered Indigenous women. I've also done several stories about Navajo language preservation, also have been going pretty in depth into the Indian Child Welfare Act controversy that's been going on. And these are stories that aren't getting out there if a Native person isn't in the newsroom. So it's super important for your voices to be heard in the editorial process, whether you become a news producer, whether you become a photographer, or whether you become on-air talent or even a news manager. Just letting people know that these issues are happening, they're affecting a large amount of people across the country. Sometimes you might think that your voice is a small one, but don't ever think that. I think that people need to know what's going on, because what can affect one small community can really have a ripple effect across the states, across the country, and even across the world. I decided to go into journalism because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to tell the Indigenous perspective. So that was my goal. And there are so many avenues nowadays too for you to get your voice out there. I do have a podcast out there right now called Native America with Colton Shone. I've done a couple of documentaries, one about the lack of representation of Natives in TV news, and also one about illegal immigration. So get out there, tell stories, let people know that we deserve to be heard. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Charlie Ed City, and I'm a proud member of the Navajo Nation, and I am a broadcast journalist for KTRK ABC 13 right here in Houston, Texas. That is the 7th largest television market in the entire country. And I got my start in broadcast journalism several years ago in my home market of Phoenix, Arizona. I worked for 12 News, the NBC station in Phoenix, and started off in a off-air capacity. I was working behind the scenes as a producer, booking and planning and scripting segments as part of the morning show. And eventually, after about a year and a half, I got the opportunity to go up to our Flagstaff Bureau and report from Northern Arizona, and that was really where I got my broadcast career started. And so what I love the most about being a journalist, but specifically a Native American journalist, is that there's not a lot of us in this industry, and so there's so many stories that need to be told, and really can only be told from the perspective of a Native American person who has experienced life through the eyes of being Indigenous, and a really good understanding of a lot of the issues that we face as Indigenous people living in a modern society. And so I just always enjoyed covering those stories, especially when I was in Phoenix. It was always fun for me. I never felt like it was a challenge or difficult, because it's just basically talking and researching what I know. And I always felt like the Native people who I would approach to talk to for these stories were very much so more willing to talk to me than they would have been if it was anybody else who was asking them. And so I love my job as a broadcast journalist. It's a new challenge every single day. I get to work with camera equipment. I'm a multimedia journalist, so I shoot, write, and edit and front all of my stories pretty much on a daily basis. And so I definitely stay on my toes. Every single day is different. Every week is different. I've covered some pretty high profile, huge stories, national stories. And I think that the Native American Journalists Association does a fantastic job of really just supporting all of us Native journalists out there, whether it's print or in broadcast, but also really doing a lot to educate the community and, the nation really about the issues that are affecting us, how to appropriately cover all of the stories that are coming out of Indian country. And so I would highly encourage all of you to consider a job in broadcast journalism, because it will definitely keep you on your toes, and no day will ever be the same as the day before.